Welcome to One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I am your host, Dr. Wayne Pernell, Dr. P, the outfluencer and your powerful presence mentor. Today, I have a friend of mine with me. His name is Alan Kaye. He is all about leadership. He's all about relationship-based leadership, and his business, well, let's just say that he makes insurance sexy. I mean, he brings it. You think about, well, I'm going to interview this guy that's all about insurance, and it's all about Alan. This is who he is, what he does, what he brings to the world. We all can take lessons from how he lives. So with that, I will say, Alan Kaye, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dr. P. I'm so excited for this. I mean, this is really an honor to be, interviewed by one of the best, and it's a long time coming here. So I don't know about insurance being sexy, but I will try my hardest.
Well, you're into, like, most people think insurance. Okay, well, my life is covered, my house is covered, my whatever. Like, I've got all I need. Don't talk to me. And you're into so much. Plus, you do it with you do your biz with such I don't know, elegance would be a really great word I would use for you. It's never about, hey, want to buy my insurance? It's always about, what do you need? Who are you? How can I connect people to you? I want to make sure you're safe. Like, all of that is what I know about you. What I'd love to do, though, Alan, is this: like, you didn't just land in insurance. Talk a little bit about how you grew up. And I know your dad was a Marine. He probably influenced you in that way. I know that he started a major business in the nursing home industry. That probably influenced you as well. So can you talk about growing up? And along the way, I'm going to be asking you about life lessons. What did you learn? And I might even stop you and go, oh my gosh, that was a life lesson, and you might even not know it. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about growing up.
Yeah. And thank you. And from, the time that we've known each other, I'm sure you've heard plenty of times where I reference both my mother and father because they're a huge influence on me, including my sister. I was blessed. I grew up in a really loving household. And yes, my father being a Marine, there was very little tolerance for excuses, whining, or if there was a problem, he didn't want to hear about it. He wanted to hear about a solution. And I was raised with three very basic principles: don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal, because there is no second chance. And if I lose the trust, my father was very quick. I watched him move on from relationships very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I watched my father start off, didn't really know what he wanted to do. And, was fortunate to have met someone in his life that took him under his wing. And I watched my father start from nothing and build this massive company that employed, thousands of employees. And the most incredible thing, Dr. P, was these employees, they became family. And what I love is I see that in my own company now. My partner, Brian Lydell, is one of the most incredible guys. I am so fortunate to have a partner like that. And, quite honestly, dating back to, when I started in business, I've met them all. And unfortunately, took my hits and trusted people and, learned a lot as I went along. And it all made sense when I finally met my partner, Brian. It was all worth it.
Awesome.
And, like you said, I have a very interesting past. Did I ever think growing up, hey, I want to be an insurance broker? Never.
Woo! Career day,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Woohoo.
career day. You too could sell insurance. You too could become a broker.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one sets out down that path. How'd you, two things before you get there? How old were you? Because I am absolutely certain that seeing your father build something from nothing, and he
Hmm.
built this multi, it's not just multi-million dollar business, it's a way of helping thousands of people over the course of decades. And as you said, bring them in like family. That in itself is a lesson. How old were you, and did you recognize the lessons along the way?
I did. I did. And I'd say about the age 12 or 13, I really took notice of what he was doing. And, to your point, Doctor, yes, he helped a lot of people, a lot of employees. But you know what I really respected? He turned the whole stigma of nursing homes, at least within our group, around. I mean, this guy went up on holidays to cook for the residents. It was all about the residents. My sister was a social worker. Uh, she's now an administrator, but she was an ombudsman for the residents. It was all about the residents. And, unfortunately in that business, it's typically a machine. It's a billing machine. And we took a different approach to it. And, I really took notice of that and I loved it. Listen, myself being an animator, I used to go around to all the residents' rooms and just sit there and color with them. And I would draw, whatever they wanted. And I love that. And that's how I learned I was an animator.
I had no idea
Um,
about that about
yeah.
you. Like I had no idea that that was a part of your history, that you're an animator.
Yeah,
That's
I was an
cool.
animator. And it actually led into my first entrepreneurial business because I went home after doing this at the facility and I painted a jean jacket with the band Rush, an album cover on the back. And before you knew it, I had 35 jean jackets on my floor that I'm painting. And my father walks in one day and he says, how much you pay for the markers? And I told him, and he goes, how much you making on the jean jackets? I said, no, these are friends. He just shook his head, turned around and walked out. And I said, that's your fault. But yeah, so I went around and I posted flyers. And before you knew it, I had my artwork in 8 different stores. And this was at the age of, 14, 15, 16, which led to a scholarship to the Hart Art School. Um, just, again, being fortunate, having great parents, they let me pursue it. And I found I didn't like it. And I knew I always had the nursing home to fall back on. And I ended up back at the nursing home. And my office was floor to ceiling sports memorabilia because that's a big part of my life too that you don't know about. My grandfather grew up by the Yankee Stadium and saved every piece of memorabilia. So about the age of 14, 15, they started handing all this stuff over. And it was cards from the 20s, 30s, autograph books from the 20s, 30s, 40s. And we amassed one of the largest Yankee memorabilia collections dating back to the New York Highlanders, the 1880s.
Wow. Wow. That's something.
Yeah. And
That's
my
awesome.
father walked in one day and said, you have a year. Looked at all my memorabilia. He goes, go figure out something in this. I
Wow.
said, okay. Yeah. So I did. And I met one of my childhood idols, a right fielder for the New York Yankees, ended up running his company and marketing 44 of the top Hall of Famers, from baseball. Hank Aaron, Orlando Cepeda, Duke Snyder. And it was just a dream.
You were doing marketing for them?
Yeah, all over the country.
Incredible.
Yeah. And it was amazing traveling with my childhood heroes, my father's childhood heroes. I mean, there was nothing cooler, Dr. P, than to tell my dad, hey, you want to come meet Hank Aaron? And he's like, what?
That's
And
pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
that was my first inkling of learning that, you know what, you can get to anyone. And that's where my whole passion for connecting dots really started. Because I'm like, wow, me, no one out of Rockland County got to my childhood idol. I used to throw quarters at this guy in right field. And here I was, running around with him.
Was that a friendly thing to do, to throw quarters, or was
It
that
was
just
back then. Well,
okay?
for the Yankees, we would throw quarters. If it was the visiting team, we would throw 8-volt batteries, 9-volt batteries.
I can picture car batteries. Okay, so that's amazing. I did not know that about your journey. That's so good.
There's more.
There has to be, because we haven't even touched on insurance yet. Just that you're
I know. I'm
there.
trying to get there.
So that no, this is awesome. These are the things that, huge lesson. You can get to anybody you want to.
Yes.
It's really about having the guts to say, why not? Versus, oh, they'd never talk to me. Who am I? It's like, why wouldn't they? Right. And I'm sure there were a few hoops you had to jump through to do it, but
Absolutely.
you were persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to and fake it till you make it. I acted like I belonged there, and they believed it. And you know what? Eventually, I belonged there.
That's awesome. Amazing. All right. So what next? Like, in the story of Alan Kaye, where did we go after Yankees?
Spending a lot of time traveling the country with these ball players. And unfortunately, one day when I was out west, I got a call that my daughter had a very high fever. She was 7 years old, and didn't think much of it, because up until that point, my life had always been pretty steady. We were never faced with any real obstacles, thankfully. And the following day, the fever kept rising. And before you knew it, she was rushed to Greenwich Hospital. I flew home, and, everything started falling apart there. We met with a hematologist who told us it could be leukemia, probably is leukemia. Before you knew it, Dr. P, we're on a pediatric oncology unit at Cornell Wheel being told it's leukemia.
Wow.
With 40 somewhat kids, and kids were passing away on a daily basis. I mean, it was the worst nightmare I've ever experienced. And met some pretty incredible people on that oncology floor that I'll tell you about. And like anything else in life, I really believe everything happens for a reason, because we were one of the fortunate families to walk out of there with something treatable. It was Crohn's. And you know what? It was the happiest day of our lives, driving up the FDR, getting the heck out of the city, and bringing our daughter home. And I swore to myself everything was going to change.
Yeah.
And immediately, I used all my connections and joined 4 pediatric charities. That following December, I took over Chelsea Piers, downtown Manhattan, brought in 9 Yankees, 9 Mets, some celebrities, and we raised over $750,000 in one night. And for 14 years to follow, we did the same thing. And you know what? It all made sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, because the prior years they were raising 90, 100 grand. And then here this happens. And now I'm doing this thing. And, again, I don't like to talk about what we raise and that kind of stuff, but, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. As you should be. I mean, seriously, that's, you raised the bar, and that's another element of who you are. I think one of the reasons that you and I resonate is that there's this level of expecting excellence from the people around us.
Yes.
Right? It's like we will expect excellence for ourselves, and therefore the people that gravitate to us are those that are living either in or living into a new level of excellence. When you do that, I mean, that's how you 7 or 8 times the 10x basically the amount of revenue you can raise. Incredible. And you should be proud. I mean, that's the other part of that is what a gift to realize that would have crushed anybody. you living on a pediatric, uh,
Dr.
it's
P, I can't even tell you. We were woken up at night listening to parents scream at the nurse's station that their kid just passed. The most horrific things. And I just have to tell you a quick story. I was introduced to a 9-year-old on the floor, dying from leukemia. And all he wanted to do was meet a certain Yankee shortstop. And unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen without an enormous appearance fee, which I could not believe. I said, we're not doing autograph signings here. This is a quick hello. So, anyhow, I had mentioned it to a good buddy of mine who was a wealth advisor. And if you know me, I am a Yankee fanatic. Don't even mention the Mets. Now you can mention the Mets all you want, because my buddy's client was a rookie third baseman, David Wright, was just coming up, had some popularity around him, and I mentioned this to the wealth advisor, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to have David call you," which I couldn't believe. I wasn't dealing with agents, I wasn't dealing with middlemen. Spoke to David directly, told him the story, and the first night we were on the pediatric unit, they rolled in a portable TV with a VHS. And now most of these people listening probably have no idea what a VHS is. And I'll never
I
forget.
have a wide audience. They'll understand what a
Okay.
cassette tape is and a VHS tape.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's like streaming, except on a no. Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, and it was the size of a dresser. But I'll never forget how frustrated I was that night, to the point where I went in the bathroom and just, I was hysterical. I just wanted to get my daughter's mind off of this, where she was. And there was a Disney movie, and it was Fluttering. And I could not believe that I was at 68th Street, Upper East Side, Mecca of the world. And these freaking kids up here don't even have a working something to take their minds off of this.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to David. And anyhow, fast forward, I get a call from one of the attending physicians who I befriended, and he's hysterical. He said, David just brought the entire Mets lineup to the floor, including Omar Minaya, the general manager. Then went around to all the kids that he could, spent the entire day with this boy, Danny. The father called me crying. I mean, I can't even tell you what this was like. Then 2 weeks later, I get a call from the unit telling me that David Wright just donated $9,000 worth of Sony bucks, all portable DVD players, televisions. I mean, for every room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? From then on, and I went after every athlete and leveraged these relations and made them give up their time and their relationships. And because a lot of these people don't realize 5 minutes of their time, how much they can really change someone's life.
So, yeah, you may or may not know that I have this. I have this. I'll take it off and show you the movement that I've started is called Starts with One.
Yes.
And it's about being, the other side of my bracelet says deliberately, actively, positively. That with intention, one person can make a huge difference in another person's life. And you may not ever see the ripple effects that it brings. You
Sure.
lift one person by making a human to human connection, and you've affected 5 people, 10 people, 10,000 people just by lifting one, and the ripple effects. This, the gesture of bringing Sony equipment in is bigger than a gesture, right? It is a true gift that
Yeah.
lifts it lifts and continues to lift. Or you make a child who is a patient, you make that little person's life easier. It makes the
Just a
nursing
little bit.
staff's life easier, right? And so the
Yeah.
care that's being offered then becomes easier. So yeah, it's and the family, right? It's like everybody gets to exhale just a little bit
Just a little bit.
when you make their life easier. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. And you know what, Dr. P, being there, for 9 weeks, that's all we were looking for. Just a little breather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's where I realized I have no control of anything. You know, the doctor would walk in and immediately I'd start praying to myself, please, 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 please let this be over. And it was progressively getting worse. And, again, at the end, thank God we were fortunate, but
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was really tough, Dr. P. I mean, I would please, please, please let him say something good. And it was just getting worse and worse. And all I needed was that one breather.
Yeah.
I would go downstairs. I'd go downstairs to York and I'd just sit there and I'm watching people honk at each other on the street. And I'm like, my God, idiots. If you only knew what's going on upstairs, you would not be honking at that person. You don't know if that person in front of you just left here. Maybe that's what they're dealing with.
That's incredible, right? That perspective's incredible, right? We never know what someone else is going through. And
Never.
the idea that, well, they've offended me, they cut me off. It's like they didn't wake up today to say, oh, who am I going to cut off today? It's you. They woke up trying to live their life. And, for me, I go to a place of compassion. It's like, if that person is driving that badly, I wish them well.
Yeah.
I want them to arrive wherever they're arriving safely.
Exactly.
Now, sometimes I get a testosterone hit and it's like,
Same
what are they
here.
thinking? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's like, I move from what are they thinking to what am I thinking? Like,
right.
Just they're in their own space that I don't have anything to prove to them. And I wish them well, right? A little compassion, a little kindness, it goes a long way. And putting yourself in another person's shoes is it's something worth practicing, right? Recognizing that what you do could make a difference to one other person.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's take us out of your daughter's illness, and I mean that's incredible.
Thank you.
Let's
And
move
can I
us.
just say,
Yeah, of
can I
course.
just say she is amazingly healthy, senior, second semester up at Syracuse University. I just want to give her a little plug if I can. She's an incredible entrepreneur, and not forget about her business. About 2 weeks into COVID, she noticed a lot of homeless people up in Syracuse and freezing, and started a charity called Small Goods Project. And she basically started going around with 4 of her sorority sisters, handing out Ziploc bags of socks, gloves, power bars, hand warmers, and beverages. And it's grown to 65 kids now have GoFundMe pages in different cities doing this. We're about to file a 501c3 for her. She also started a clothing line with positive messaging that has blown up, and influencers have just signed up for $40,000 orders. I mean, she's absolutely incredible. So nothing makes me prouder. And I can look at my wife at night and say, you know what? We've done good.
Yeah. Every step of the way. I mean, you that's it. It's like that's the measure, right? And it is almost a daily thing. And then you look back and it's like, where'd the last 20 years go? And
Yeah.
and you go, well, 20 years of building on, we've done good. We've done good. We've done good.
Listen, we screwed up like everyone else. And we admit that. And we tell our kids, we're very honest with our kids. We have open lines of communication. And the great thing, Dr. P, about cell phones and texting, they have the ability to say things to us now where it's, just if you're not comfortable, shoot me a text. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
but I want to know what's going on. I don't ever want you to be in a position that I was in, because I wasn't always comfortable telling my parents everything. And I
Yeah.
did some really stupid things growing up. And it's just amazing the lines of communication we have now.
And I think building that is also intentional, and that's one of the lessons that we can offer our audience here is that building communication with kids, before us in generations prior to ours, kids were to be seen and not heard. And
Right.
of course there was rebellion. And you and I are of a like mind in terms of we must build communication bridges to our
Mhm.
kids. And
Sure.
even now, mine will reach out and say, "Hey, got a minute?" It's like,
Hmm.
absolutely, yes. You know what?
Absolutely.
For
Yeah.
you, absolutely, yes. And it's so that is so heartwarming to know that that line of communication is always open.
Sure.
And yeah, that's so good. It's so good. That takes work. Like any relationship, that takes work, right? So
It's all
yeah,
work. It's all work. It's
yeah.
all work,
Put
but it's
put
so
intention
important.
behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then what?
Okay.
Where did the land of or the path, the journey of Alan Kay?
Yeah.
How how do we get
We're
like,
getting
hey,
there.
I'm going to be an insurance broker? How do we get from wow, I built a legacy of entrepreneurship, left behind animation, cared for my daughter, and now what?
Yeah. So at the same time, I know, being in the nursing home industry, having every family member involved in the nursing home industry, all you hear about in the home is what happened in the nursing home that
Mm.
day. And that's a topic of conversation to this day at every holiday dinner. And so I overheard my father complaining about workers' comp. And this SOB broker showed up with a huge, increase with no explanation yet again. And that was just in the back of my mind. And, I got tired of the traveling with the athletes. I didn't want to be, 3,000 miles away, God forbid, because we still didn't, my daughter was, good, but we still didn't know. And I had a really good friend in town. He had some really nice cars. I said, "Hey, what do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, I sell health insurance. Yeah, I know you know a lot of athletes." And he started telling, saying this whole thing. And wait, your family's in nursing homes, right? And sure enough, he talked me into go getting my licenses.
Wow.
So I got my licenses. And soon as I started going for my license, my father's like, "You better figure this out." So now I had his, that pressure. And all I ever want to do is please my father. Always seeking approval. And just because, I've always looked up to him.
Mhm.
And, for it was pretty incredible. I brought it into a publicly traded brokerage, and it just wasn't for me. I wasn't allowed to speak to my clients. They were being handled out of a call center. And, I've always been relationship guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I identified, my current partner, Brian, and loved what he was doing. Brian himself made a career change from being a renowned insurance litigator. He got tired of defending crappy insurance brokers.
Hmm.
So he opened up a small practice by his home, and I joined him 7 years ago. Yeah, about 6 or 7 years ago. And, we've grown it to 8 offices, 60 somewhat full time people, and we're
Wow.
about to hopefully open up our ninth office. And the best thing about it, Dr. P, is, you know, it's funny. Like when I first started this, my kids would tell me, my son loves the NBA. Okay. So I found someone who can get me to the person who can get me into the retired NBA players union. So I started doing the benefits for the retired NBA player. And we were courtside, and then my son and daughter loved hip hop. So I started identifying certain hip hop artists, and then they became my clients, and my kids were going to their concerts. And it just it's pretty amazing. Again,
I'll,
when
I'll
you get
say,
yeah,
right? It's like,
we have a lot of fun doing what we do. We leverage a lot of those relationships with our other clients to bring their kids. Um, I spend 3 months leading up to the summer getting most of my clients' kids internships, through these various relationships. That's what I love. So, yes, it's insurance. We do insurance really well. I have really smart people behind me, but give me a challenge. Tell me you want to get in that door, that door. That's what I'm really good at.
that's
I will
awesome.
build that relationship and I won't let go of it.
That's amazing. The amazing part of that is that that's not what brings you the money. That's just who you are, right? That's like you're
Listen,
just you're the
yeah,
connector, and it's
yeah,
not about, pay me and I'll connect you. It's about that's what I do. I know people, I'll connect you.
yeah.
Um, is there anything that well, I'll ask it as an open-ended question. What about the insurance business keeps you in the insurance business? What's like, do you wake up every day with the idea, who do I get to serve today? Or do you wake up every day going, all right, one more, how many more policies do we bring in? What do we need?
No, we don't have quotas. We have such a great culture in our company, and I really have to thank my partner for that, as well as myself and my father.
Yeah,
Everyone in my company is family, and my partner Brian and I, March 20 something, had a real serious call with each other. Like, hey, there's some serious stuff going on here with the pandemic. We just lost our largest hotel chain. We're about to lose this. They're going under. And we made a commitment to each other and to our company. We're not letting anyone go. We're going to figure it out. If Brian and I only take home a dime in 2020, that's what it's going to be. But we're not letting anyone go. And everyone's going to eat, everyone's going to live, and we'll figure it out. And, you know, that's how I'm wired. So
yeah,
to have a partner on the same page, speaking the same thing, it was almost like a day of like an aha moment. And that really put such a fire to not only, keep everyone on board, but you know what? We had one of our best years last year.
that's amazing, right? That you're not the only person I've talked to who said that. where
Yeah.
where it's like, all these other businesses, a lot of businesses have taken massive hits. Some are
Yeah.
barely staying afloat at 40% of revenue targets. Some have gone under, some, and the clients I have, they're like, yeah, we're about 7% off of where we wanted to be, but we're still ahead of last year. It's like, that's awesome, right? So
Yeah.
those are it's amazing to say, okay, you took everybody was shut down for a period of time. You took at least in my world, you took 3 to 6 weeks off, maybe 9 weeks, maybe 12, up to 3 months off, and you're still doing better than you did the year before. Let's leverage that, right? you
Yeah.
you figured out efficiency, right? So let me ask you a question about you, because
Sure.
I want to make this in some ways lesson based, right? So
Sure.
if these are the takeaways, kind of, right? So to be
Yeah.
focusing here, if you were to take on a mentee, sorry, if you were the mentor and you were to
Mhm.
take on a mentee, what would be the top 3 things you'd tell them as what's needed for success?
What's needed for success?
Yeah, what's either been your path to success or, in this world that's slightly changed from when you came through it, what do you see that's now needed to become successful?
not to sound too cliche, Dr. P, but
Oh,
first
feel
and foremost,
free. Be
first
cliche.
first and foremost, you have to be authentic. I
Awesome.
don't know about you. I always go back to my wedding day story. Where my wife and I were drafting up our wedding parties list, and I have 17 people, and she's like, "What?" She's like, "Where are we going to put everyone? And why do you have 17 people?" I said, "Well, that's elementary school, that's junior high school, that's high school." That's She goes, "You still speak to elementaries?" I said, "Absolutely." You don't. So be
It's funny.
authentic.
I do actually. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I do. Yeah.
And you know what? Unfortunately, I lost my mother about 3 years ago. And the only people that really got me through it were the people that grew up in my house and knew her. And it was
Mm,
so amazing. Those people reached out even before, my closest friends, currently.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
to me, that was so important. And it really got me through. I mean, because all we did was laugh about stories, how she used to kick them out of the house or, whatever it was. Uh, Two, don't burn a bridge because you never know where that person's going to pop back up. And I'm telling you, they pop back up. And I always say to myself in the back of my head, my God, thank God I didn't tell them what I really felt about them. The 24-hour rule,
Yep.
let it simmer because I promise you the following day, you won't feel the same about it. And, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You're not going to get anything out of it other than a reaction from that person and then you're just going to go down that rabbit hole.
It's so true. The sub lesson here is when you're feeling something that strongly, it's actually about you and not about them.
Yeah,
Which is why the 24-hour rule works. It's like, okay, give yourself some time to get perspective, right?
absolutely.
That's the thing that's lost in the heat of the moment.
And my mother always told me, it's people aren't conspiring. People like you mentioned that day.
Yeah.
People didn't wake up that morning oh, I'm going to get behind that guy and honk at him and drive him off the road.
Right.
No, you
Right.
have no
That
idea
guy in
what's going on.
particular.
Yeah, and quite honestly, like my parents told me, get over yourself. You're not that important. People aren't thinking about you, so viciously. So
It's true.
um, let me think of the third. You know, this is how I never liked to complain. I wasn't allowed to complain. I wasn't allowed to whine unless I had a solution. So, what you find in a lot of workplaces is people, the troublemakers. They go from office to office, complaining, whining, but they never have a solution. It's just an endless list of problems. And you know what? It's not just limited to their work. I'm sure it's in their
Yeah.
family. I'm sure it's anyone they meet throughout the day. And I'm always open. I let all my employees, we're open to any new ideas. Let's shift. If that's a better way of doing it, great. I want to hear it. Um, yeah, I would say either that or, take a second and empower someone. It's very easy to empower someone. You listen to them, make them feel good about themselves, do something good for them. It's good for you, it's good for them. It's a very easy formula.
I am 100% certain. I've never met her, and I haven't really ever talked to you about her. I'm 100% certain that your mom taught you to leave a place better than you found it.
That's it.
And
Absolutely. Oh,
and,
you
and
just gave me the chills.
when you do that with another human, you leave another human better than you found them when they first came to you. Then what you've done is you've opened up their world, and who knows, what's next for the two of
Yeah.
you, for that person. And again, it's back to the ripple effect. Starts with one. So empower others. I want to go through this really quickly. Be authentic was the first thing you said.
Yes.
That is surprisingly more difficult than most people realize. It's easy to say be authentic, and yet if you show up with insecurity, you won't be authentic if you show up in the space of what are they thinking of me? I should probably say this because then they'll think better of me. Maybe I should dress this way. Maybe I should. And if there's ever a should in that thinking, your authenticity is broken,
True.
right?
True. Yeah.
So who am I? And unapologetically, like if I don't know something, I'm going to say, I didn't know that, right? How do I find out? How do I learn more? If I do know something, it's going to show up without judgment. Hey, let me contribute. Here's something you may not know, right? So
Yeah.
huge, right? Being
And that's in the
authentic.
weekly. I bring that up weekly to my producers in my company. If you don't know something, there's no issue whatsoever telling the client or prospect, I don't know. Let me go look into it. Because the last thing you want to do is look like an idiot. And, especially when you're dealing with people's livelihoods.
Yeah, right.
And I have no problem saying, hey, you know what? Let me check on that. Or let me go. Because you know what? I'll find the expert that can tell you exactly what you're looking for.
And
Um,
that's huge because what you just said was you don't want to look like an idiot. And most people will go, well, I don't want to look like an idiot, so I'll make something up instead of I
right.
don't want to look like an idiot. Hey, I'm going to get you the answer that you just asked for. So that's authenticity. That's awesome. Don't burn a bridge. Fantastic. Truly good. You never know, right? You never know. Now, it's up to you, your choice, whether you reach out to somebody that's been sort of a poo head to you or to others. Like you get to choose your level of excellence. You
Yeah.
don't just cut it off, though, right? It's you get to choose whether to reach back out or how you want to engage. So don't burn a bridge. I love these. I love these. So be authentic. Don't burn a bridge. Be solution focused. So many people live their lives offended, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like
Yeah.
a badge of honor, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm offended. It's like
Yeah.
no, nobody cares if you're offended. Like,
Right. Right.
right? You and I were speaking before we started our recording about somebody who lives their life in this space of you know demanding or wanting or needing and is unclear why people won't give just well it's like okay you know and the comments that are made like well that's fine I'll just I'll figure it out and it's almost like oh no we'll figure it out for you
Right.
there's no
And
one
that's what
that's
they're waiting to hear.
say it again
And that's what they're waiting for you to say. Oh,
exactly
no, 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 I'll help.
right. So it's okay to help, but if you live your life in a space of, oh, I need rescuing, you're in deeper trouble than you know. So snap out of it, right? So don't burn a bridge, be solution focused, don't live your life offended. And then really to touch others' lives, to lift them. One of my sayings is lift as you lead. Like your job as a leader is to reach your hand back and bring people with you because you've run the miles, show them how to do it, right? Empower others to live into a bigger version of themselves, not into a version of you, but into a bigger version of themselves. That's true empowerment is giving them. I think of it's interesting. I think of empowerment as almost a Wizard of Oz phenomenon because it's not like you have the power to make somebody something different by empowering them. You're basically saying, "Hey, lion, you have the courage, right?
Yeah.
And let me
Yeah.
show you where it is." And that's pretty special in itself. So
Yeah. And you
cool.
personalize it because, again, I have not gone into all the failures, and there's been plenty of failures on this journey. I can't even tell you how many times I've been taken advantage because, listen, I tell my kids on a daily basis, a lot of people, pardon my French, suck. I mean, they have their angles, they're coming in for a reason. And, I was raised again, help everyone. So I've met them all and I've been taken advantage by the best and, live and learn. The good thing is I don't carry that around with me anymore. I do carry it around in the back of my head as lessons, as red flags, and I'm very keen to those. But listen, I give people every opportunity to show me why they should be in my lives and why I should help them. And you know what? If they end up taking advantage of me, it's their loss because they're going to lose in the long run. They would have done better off in a longer strategy with me to just be genuine, because nothing makes me happier than getting that person to the next level or getting them out of their, getting their out of their dark spot. And I think back to my father again, where I didn't know if I wanted to go into insurance, and I didn't know if I wanted to do this. And I had a young child. My father said, "So get a second job, get a third job." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "You have a family. It's no longer, you have a responsibility." And, to myself, I said, "Oh God, I knew I should have called my mother instead." But,
Oh,
it was that simple. Don't complain. You're in charge. Do whatever you want. Make money. Don't make money. Provide for your kids. Don't provide for your kids. It's that simple.
that's that's that is the lesson, right? That you're in charge.
Yeah.
There's one person responsible for the outcomes you're seeing in your life, right? That's
Yeah.
just one person responsible for the outcomes you're seeing in your life. That's what, sometimes that's a huge focus in the breakthrough success coaching that I do. The mindset work is, well, let's take a look at what you're really responsible for. Let's take a look at what you really have control over. And you shine a light on that, and the beam goes broader. It's
Yeah.
like, look at all the things you could dive into.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting. That's great. Anything else you would like to offer as we come to the close of this segment? Anything else that we
I
didn't
feel
touch
like I
on that you were hoping I would ask you? Anything else?
No, I just feel like I have to mention virtual 5 o'clock only because to show others out there that if you are the woe is me person or what am I going to do? Again, March 13th hit and the world shut down. And
Yeah.
I know you've heard this story plenty, but Lane and myself, we had a networking dinner like we did 3 nights a week prior to COVID. That was shut down. And now, me as a sales, connector, what am I going to do? And, we registered virtual 5 o'clock. We had that Zoom the following week. And here we are 10 months later with just the most incredible community of givers. And it's been a dream. I mean, I consider you one of the closest people in my life, yet we still haven't met.
Right.
But I see you on screen, and it's a comfort feel. I can't explain it. I feel like I could reach out to you at 3 in the morning with one of those texts. I don't know
You
why, but
you absolutely could. And that's the sense that, what you've built with virtual 5 o'clock. I feel so blessed to be connected with you there.
yeah,
We've become like we've found each other as brothers. It's been
yeah.
so positive, so
I
positive.
probably would have never have met you if it wasn't for that,
True.
unfortunately.
Very true. That's awesome. Um, I'll put V50 in the comments. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Talk about, I'm sorry.
About V50. Do you want to talk about it? It's one of no, it's not one of. It's the best networking group I've ever been in.
Thank you.
It's not one of the best. It's the best networking groups I've ever been in. It is nationwide. And there's no reason why, if you're listening to this from around the world, there's no reason why you can't join as well. So it could be international. Um,
Absolutely.
right?
Those,
So the
that's
idea
our
is,
intention.
pardon?
That's our intention. Listen, we're just looking for great people. Our community consists of, this has been a dream of mine. It's a blank slate. Networking prior to COVID, you know, people would show up to restaurants. Some would show up for drink, some would show up for food, some would show up for the celebrities, you know, not always necessarily there for the right reasons. We created a community here where, and you've witnessed it, people come on, you have a need, you have an ask, you have a book, a podcast, something you want to promote, you have a whole family around you that are going to do nothing but promote, enhance, and it's a dream of mine.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I can't say enough about this community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you've
mean,
you've got a lot to be proud of. I mean, that's you've built a community where the culture is you come in as as someone who wants to give, wants to lift, wants to empower. That's awesome. That's awesome.
thank you, thank you, and it's
It
also,
go ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
no, it's because of professional like you. I mean, it's just you're such a big part of this. I mean, every day I speak to someone and they're like, "Oh, I just got off the phone with Dr. P. He's amazing. He's going to do this and that." So I can't thank you enough for because I know how busy you are, and it's just incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, and to not only get to speak to you, but then to there have been instances where your father's on in the background, and you know what? It's just I love it.
Yeah,
It just humanizes everything. It just takes everyone's guards down. I can't explain it. It's just I wish I can put it into words. It's just
it's so
it's
good.
special.
It
It's
is
special.
special. It is special. Special group of special people with big hearts. You know, you and Lane, and I will have Lane Frank is his name. I'll have him on our
Yes.
show pretty
My,
soon.
my other partner who
Good.
blessed
If people want to reach you to find out more about you, about the insurance biz, about your history, about connecting, how do they find
sure.
you?
Obviously, you could always email me at ALAN at fidens.com, FIDENS.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Alan K, Kaye. And yeah,
That's awesome.
always
All
looking.
right.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Say your thing.
I don't even know what I was going to say.
You're looking forward to, I don't know, connecting or seeing more great people. I don't know what you were going to say. It's so good, Alan. It's so good. It is always a pleasure, and thank you. Thanks for joining me on One Sharp Sword, cutting
Real honor.
through. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Dr. P.
it is. It is so good. All right. Well, with that, this is One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I am Dr. P, Dr. Wayne Pernell. My guest has been Alan Kay, a true, amazing gentleman in the world, a force of good. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you here next time.
Love you, Dr. P. Thank you.